Yeah, so for my senior project, I decided to paint 3 landscapes. I've been in fine arts class all year with my lovely mother, who is a fantastic arts teacher.
Mrs. Clark.
Mrs. Clark, sorry.
And I have the lights on, or do you
Oh
have
yeah,
video?
no, sure.
Okay.
I don't have videos, just some slides.
We just want to sing, so. No, only halfway. Sorry, carry on.
Thank you. So yeah, over the year I've just kind of cultivated a joy and love for painting, and so what better to do for this project? Yeah, so every year my mom's side of the family goes camping over this period of time at Huntington Lake, which is it's a lake near Shaver Lake in the Sierra National Forest near Fresno, and so we go up there every year for 2 weeks. This year we only went a week and a half, so the trip is a little shorter, and I'll explain more about that later. So yeah, this trip fell over the duration of my senior project, and so I decided to do 3 paintings in nature while up at the lake. So yeah, this is what camp looks like when we set up there. And so in addition to the painting part of the trip, another aspect was adventure. And so over the course of the trip, we did lots of fun things, including fishing. Anyone you know? More fishing. That's my brother and Emma, my cousin. Boating. Cameron driving the boat. Rafting, or what do you call it, inner tubing? Yeah, this little hot thing. We brought this little hot dog thing. It's pretty fun. This is what happens when you do that. We caught the fish we caught. We prepared them with a little butter, salt, lemon pepper, and lemon wedges inside, and then we cooked them on the grill. Served them on crackers. It's pretty good. I don't have any samples, unfortunately. Yeah, so we came out to camp, played cards, played many instruments. My cousin is very strange. Miller was good at the ukulele. And then I also brought my guitar. My uncle was playing it, and he played classically, so that was fun. Anyway, chopping wood. There's Miller chopping some wood. My dog. Thought you might enjoy that. Oh, and then we also went to these hot springs called Mono Hot Springs. Up this kind of 1-car lane road up into the very top of the mountain. And then on the way there, there's kind of this overpass that goes over this bridge, and there was snow at the top. So we're like, ooh, yes. So we pull over to the side, and this photo takes place just before Cameron throws a snowball inside my car. And I was not very happy about that. I still haven't cleaned it. I need to do that. Yeah, so into the hot springs. The hot springs were super fun. That was probably the best part. Yeah. All right, so now the painting aspect of the trip. So this is a photo of my mother and I, who was gracious to come along and give me advice and stuff, as that was fortunate. Yeah, so I visited Huntington before, and I remember there were kind of several good locations to be able to paint landscapes near the lake. So this is one of them. This is you can see it over there, the first painting on the right. The view of this cove overlooks the rest of the lake. And so yeah, that's the photo. Yeah, so this is the first painting that I completed. I like the way it turned out, but I had a little bit of a harder time defining the foreground and playing with the light, which was it was kind of weird because it was a little bit silhouetted in the foreground. But on touching it up after we came back, I liked the way that the water turned out, so that was my favorite part of this one. The second landscape that I decided to paint was at this place called Rancheria Falls, which is near the lake. It was a little drive up the ways, and it was about a mile hike up to this waterfall. And the funny thing about it is that it kind of looks like a little small, especially in the painting, but you actually see the people down there, and you're like, oh, it's actually very large. And so I painted the little people in there as well, just to try and get the scale right. Yeah, so my mom, aunt, and grandma, we all hiked out there and set up the paint gear. This was the first place we set up the paint. And I think this one actually is my favorite one that turned out. I think it has the most contrast and is the most lively and flows the best, as people pointed out. Yeah, I was able to loosen up a little more with this painting and get kind of more of a creative style, and that's not as like rigid and strict as the other two. So it made more of a sound and like had a feeling of gestalt. There's your vocab term. Gestalt, by the way, is like the overall likeness of a painting, or just yeah. Anyway, so the third landscape that I decided to paint. Does anyone know where China Peak is? What? I didn't think so. Okay. It's called China Peak. It's like a little ski resort up at the lake. Yeah, I don't know. People ski. I don't ski. So yeah, this spot, I like this spot because it was grassy. It kind of had this foreground. Unfortunately, I didn't paint the bike in because I thought it might conflict a little bit. But if I were to do it again, I would definitely paint the bike in because I think it gives it a little more. It gives a little bit of the subject, which would have been fun. Yeah, so that's that painting, and then this is how it turned out. I think I struggled the most on this painting with the perspective of it. I think the mountain range in the background is a little too close up. As you can see the photo, it's kind of further back. Yeah, my favorite part is the tree line on the left, and then the foreground is the grass. For some reason, I was able to get those to work. With this painting, I struggled the most with blending layers, and as my mom was kind of telling me, that's something that I struggled with throughout the whole painting process, is forgetting that oil paints are supposed to be built up on top of each other rather than kind of blended and mixed into each other. And so yeah, that kind of process of just layering is very important when you're trying to make something look more realistic. Yeah. I found that simply defining edges is the most important thing in the landscape, as well as getting the shape of the objects correct. So yeah, all in all, this project was an adventure, as well as an amazing creative exercise. And it was a relief and a break from a crazy school schedule. So it was kind of all three of those aspects mixed in. So overall, it was an amazing experience. There's also something really unique and sublime about painting in the forest and being like actually there. So that was definitely enjoyable and was one of the best parts about this trip. Yeah, the fresh air and smell of pines is definitely, it's more fun to paint in nature than in a classroom, personally. That's what I feel. I also found it fitting that I'll be entering into landscape architecture in the fall, and studying landscapes is, I don't know, it applies, I think. Interest too.
Good segue.
Yeah, it's a little, yeah, and so studying natural landscapes was a cool opportunity to kind of tie into that. So kind of tying into my experience with painting and then kind of going forward into what's next in life, which is kind of fun. If I were to do this project over again, I would have loved to be up in the mountains for a longer period of time. As I said earlier, that's what I was going to say, is that I was up there for like a week and a couple of days. And so it was a little difficult to get all these paintings done in that time, and I actually didn't like get the finishing touches on all of them. So I had to bring them home, and I took reference photos, as you saw, and then kind of touched them up there. But I would have liked to be able to finish them while I was there, but you know, timing happens. Time is fun. Yeah, thank you for listening to my presentation. Hope you enjoyed it.
So we got some low-hanging clouds in this picture.
Yes.
Is that what I like? What was that actually in the reference picture, or was that?
I believe it's pretty similar.
Oh yeah. How high up are the mountains?
We were at an elevation of 7,078 feet,
Wow.
I believe.
How do you manage all of your supplies, like, in nature?
Well, this nifty little easel things are actually pretty nice. They've got space in the back of them on a little drawer. You can put your paints and towels and all of your brushes.
Makes it easy.
Yeah, pretty nice. Thank you.
So you omitted the bicycle,
Yes.
which I too am sad about. However, you're not lovely. You did. It seemed in the waterfall you omitted
It was just not a very nice tree.
Wasn't
No.
it?
And it conflicts with the motion of the waterfall. It kind of just sits right in the dead center of it, and it's not a very, like, the compositionally it doesn't work. It doesn't work very well. So I took it out. And you can do that when you're painting. You have creative freedom. You can manipulate it a little bit.
He was exercising his landscape architecture.
I don't know what kind of tree it is. Next up is the botany park. I don't know that yet.
I'm glad you pointed out the people. It took me the whole time, I didn't see them at all, so it's
Go back to your,
interesting.
can you go back to your painting of this one?
Yeah. Why aren't you working? There you go.
Ah, there they are.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's pretty amazing, because that now does add perspective. I would have had no idea
Yeah,
that.
look like people.
Yeah, this one was definitely the most fun. Yeah, my mom just kind of giving me instruction and better ideas on how to, like, create the rock formations and the highlights and the textures and all of it. Yeah, and listening up with all that. This was definitely the most fun. And the vertical format was fitting for the waterfall.
How did you decide where to start each piece?
Well, as we kind of have learned in the art class that you kind of just get a rough sketch down with the basic outlines of the things you want. I should have taken pictures of each step. That would have been a good idea. But yeah, so you kind of just start with like an outline of like, oh, this is where the waterfall's going to go. This is where these rocks are going to go, and this tree. And then you kind of put in your backgrounds. You kind of block in all the color for where everything goes. And then on top of that, you kind of just layer everything, like I was saying before. The thing that I was kind of learning over this trip. And so you just kind of do that, and as you define more layers and highlights and shadows, it becomes more realistic, and you can feel the gravity of it more. Yeah.
What, like, where was this exactly? Like, was this in California or
Yeah.
was this in? Okay.
It's about a 6-hour drive northeast-ish.
So is it close to Shasta?
I'm not sure where it is.
No,
It's not.
it's just underneath, like south of Yosemite.
Oh, okay.
Like we could probably
Yeah.
throw a rock to Yosemite, except you can't drive straight.
Exactly.
You have to go down a mountain and back up.
Yeah, I drove separately because they had to go back my parents had to go back for school and work. And that way I was able to stay up there for longer, complete more paintings.
You said you were going to talk more about why it was only a week and a half instead of 2.
Yes, I said something very, at the very end. Oh, wait, that. Shoot, what was that? No, not that one. Sorry, can you repeat the question?
So in the beginning you said that you're supposed to go, that traditionally everyone goes up for 2 weeks, but
Yeah.
you were like, well, we only went up for a week and a half. I did why later.
Oh,
I thought it was going to be something like
I did.
Yeah.
You made it cool, aren't you?
There were fireworks. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, just the timing. The timing of the trip was a little bit off. And then I mean, obviously I was here for the gallery and stuff. And so I went up the second half of the first week and then was able to be there for the rest.
So everyone was already there.
Yeah, they had gotten only there only a day before. I honestly don't remember the comment that I made earlier. I'm sorry about that. Yes.
How long does paintings such as these take from start to finish?
From start to finish, well, the whole process is over a course of a couple days. I would say it takes about 2 to 3 days of like straight work. Not obviously working the whole time, but multiple hours. I would say like 5 or 6 hours each painting total when you like straight painting. So over the course of a week, it should allow for a little bit of about 2 weeks, which was the time that I had this project.
So I've never painted the painting before, so maybe you could help me understand. Like when you paint, for you specifically, is it just like something where you can just like sit there for 3 hours straight and just like keep painting, or like is it like kind of when you write an essay and you get like tired after like straight writing and you can't just keep going or else it won't be as good, or is it something that you feel that you can just sink a bunch of hours into in a row and it's just there?
Definitely the second one.
Really?
Although it's interesting, on this trip, I found myself being able to sit down for longer periods of time and getting a lot of the painting process done. That other picture that I showed you of the bridge overlooking this one we stood there for like 4 hours or something, just painting. So I found that motivational. Is that the word I'm looking for? So yeah, just being able to do that for longer on this trip, I found is an area that I've grown in. But most generally, yes, I need to, after a while, just stop, because either your creativity just runs out and you can't do anything, and you start like messing up what you've been doing. And so sometimes it's good to just kind of break and then take a step back and then come visit it in a couple hours or the next day. Generally, that's a good rule with creative processes, is to be able to step back. Puzzles too. Oh, lots of questions.
Me?
Yeah.
So I see in this photo that your mom is painting something different than you. Is that because you just decided to like not do that first part that she's painting?
She was at a slightly different angle.
Okay.
Yeah, so she was standing over here looking that way.
Okay.
I was standing over here looking that way. So that's why they're different.
So you're saying you struggled with, you're used to being able to blend but not layer. So for the layering portion, would you have to leave, because I've never painted with oil, do you have to leave a lot of time for it to dry in order to do that layering effect? Or like was that a part of it?
It depends. You can, another thing is, yes, you have to paint with different thicknesses and thinnesses. I'm struggling with words today. So yes, if you use different thicknesses and thinnesses, they sit on top.
Just go.
It's just thicknesses.
Thickness.
It's just thick. There's no thicknesses.
Okay.
It's just thicknesses. It's either more. It does. It works. I'll allow it.
Did you find that by like your third painting or whatever, you were struggling with that layering less and less?
Yes.
No.
So I started the waterfall painting first, but I finished that one last.
Oh.
So that one was more spaced out over the course of the project. And so by the end of it, I was kind of painting over some of the just general blocking that I'd done before. And so yeah, I found that over the course of 3 paintings, I was able to loosen up more and be able to figure out how to layer better with my own stuff, of course.
Dylan, he still doesn't know why they left early.
Well, on that note of kind of being like more loose about stuff, you mentioned with your first painting that it was difficult because it was kind of a silhouette in the foreground. So obviously you have this massive lake at your disposal, you can go kind of wherever you want. What drew you to these specific locations?
The lighting changed in that one, by the way. It was good and then it changed.
Okay, but what drew you? Like, were you like, oh, this would be easy, this would be difficult, this is beautiful, this isn't beautiful, and I want to make it beautiful? Like, what kind of drew you to these different spots? And did you look for other spots and eventually decide, no, I don't really want to paint that?
These are the only 2 spots I visited.
Okay.
But I think I visited them intentionally. The waterfall I thought would be fun because it's unique and it's not just like a sitting body of water. And so being able to hike up there and then paint that was, I thought, the most fun thing or the most fun landscape that was available. So I like that idea. And then I mentioned earlier that on the one with the grass in the foreground, that was the reason why I did it, is because kind of the grass, there's not a ton of grass up there. There's a lot of dead stuff. There's like this big beetle infestation or something, and they were cutting down trees all week actually. Yeah, it was kind of crazy to hear the trees like cutting against the ground. Anyways, but yeah, I like the grass in the foreground for that one. And then the cove with the weird lighting and the silhouette, that one is where every year we go up and we kind of have this red canoe, and the cove is right next to our campsite, so we kind of just go paddle around in there and fish in that cove. We named it one year Emma's Cove.
Clark Cove, that'd be cool.
My cousin's name. Clark Cove. That's
I love it. Remember we walked around that like 4 times?
We did. We
To
did
answer
walk
this
back and
question.
forth. Okay.
I'm
sorry. We did. We walked back and forth, and we carried all this equipment, and it was very heavy. There were like baskets and like all the canvases, so there was a lot of searching. But somewhere near this code, we knew we wanted to paint.
What do you want to paint next?
What do I want to paint next? I don't know what I want to paint next, but I know I want to paint a lot forever.
That goes to my question. Is this mainly a exercise, an instance, and a practice that you're doing? Like, what was the meaning of this project to you? Is it something that you're doing as a practice? You're trying to get better at painting. You want to paint landscapes. You're obviously interested in them. Or is there a deeper like emotional, symbolic, or spiritual content to the work that you produced?
I mean, I think it has to go with, I don't know, the reason I enjoy creating in general. With anything, I mean, yes, it is. I do enjoy painting and like to cultivate that ability, and I think it's cool to be able to replicate something you see in nature. And then over the course of the year, improving on my skills in that, actually discovering them was great. And then on this trip, I was able to kind of foster that more. But yeah, more generally to your kind of broader question, I think that creating in general is something very valuable and central to who I am. I mean, both my parents are very creative. They're graphic designers and are both artists. And I don't know, just kind of discovering that in myself as well has been something very life-giving, and I find in my identity as to be very, just that like it. And then, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, as a part of my identity, I find it to be very enjoyable. I mean, it can be for anything, right? I enjoy cooking as well and making things with my hands. Legos.
I guess if I can refine my question, is the point of this that the process is meditative and it connects you with a part of yourself that you want to be connected with? Or is the point of this that you produce something that conveys a particular thing to other people?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
And that goes to the quote at the end of the thing.
Oh, sweet. Have I played into it? You're welcome.
So this quote is by Jean-Baptiste Camille Corot. Beauty in art is truth bathed in the impression, the emotion that is received from nature. Seek truth and exactitude, but with the envelope of sentiment which you felt at first. If you have been sincere in your emotion, you will be able to pass it on to others. So I feel like that's precisely what you were saying. Just this idea of like seeing nature, being able to feel that emotion and admire God's creation is something that I feel, and then being able to replicate that to some extent, because we are made in the image of God as a creator, and so being able to create is very reflective of who we are, and then being able to pass that on to others is something very rich and fulfilling, I feel.
That's a good intro.